Music came before the acting, but while I was doing music, I found myself meeting people who acted, you know, and they exposed me to that field, and I was kind of like, hey, all right, I'll try it. You know, always thinking, well, music is my first love, and I just stumbled. I mean, when I tell you I stumbled upon all this, actually I didn't stumble because there are no accidents, but I did not, you know, I didn't have that intense ambition to be a musician or an actress. You know, I just enjoyed it, you know, and if there was an opportunity, hey, you know, I'll go. And by enjoying it, because I loved it, it enabled me to get better at what I was doing, you know what I mean? Because there was a love behind it. It wasn't like, I've got to do this, you know, there wasn't just, you know, naked ambition. I really enjoyed what I was doing. And all the while that I enjoyed it, I was happy doing it. I was content doing it, whether it was for 3 squirrels in the park or, you know, for 3 acorns as compensation. I mean, it didn't matter to me. And because we loved it so much, I think that was a reflection, you know, to others. I think that they saw that, you know, that to me, you know, penetrated the minds and the hearts of people more than, hey, look how well we can play. You know, it was kind of, there was something else that was communicated, you know, by the music and by the artistry. And that created opportunity. When they could have easily said no, or we have no interest, you know, we're not going to drive you to this audition. No, you know, we're not going to allow you guys to practice and play the music in the living room. Or, you know, when they could have easily done that, they didn't. And just very, very meaningful. I mean, my parents, you know, really took a heavy, you know, very serious interest in my creativity from the time I was very young, and not for the sake of, you know, they didn't know what would come of it, just because I enjoyed it, you know, and to me that's a reflection of love, when someone can see you enjoying yourself and want to participate or want to encourage or want to help you to do something that you enjoy. You know, it wasn't about making her a star. It was just, hey, she likes to do this, let's support it. And having a good time, sometimes, oh, you stumble upon a talent. Well, I like to sing, I'm going to sing this song. Hey, you can sing. Did you know that, girl? I can. You know, and let me take this a little more seriously. But, you know, it was just something that we all did. You know, it really was the performance part of humanity. You know, I think I was just acting out on my humanity, you know, on this gift that God gave me, and just being a kid. You know, really being a kid. And if I became sophisticated while I was doing that, if that took place, then, you know, I didn't know about it, because I certainly wasn't trying to. You know, I just tried to sing that song just like Whitney Houston. You know what I mean? That's really was the goal at that point. But, you know, if you love something, man, you know, if you love something and if you're committed and diligent, you know, the things that happen, I mean, you know, there's some people who are blessed with gifts, but then there are certain people who can work toward, you know, even with the gift that I have now, I mean, I've leaned on God for so long. Hey, God, you just gave me this gift, and I'm just going to go out there and sing. But it's only now that I'm realizing how much larger and how expansive my gift becomes when I actually pay attention to it and try to you know, practice and try to perfect it. I've always, you know, I'm not going to warm up. I'm just going to go in the studio and sing this song, and inspiration will take me. And yes, that's true. You know, we are inspired to do things, and definitely. But, you know, now I'm understanding that, like in the Bible, for example, when it talked about David, you know, it's always said that David was a skillful player. He played cunningly, you know, so that took practice. And I'm not afraid of that anymore. That's exciting to me. I try, you know, not to have a day pass where I don't read something from the Bible, for example. It's like my sustenance to me. If the entire week is a battlefield, you know, it's like reading that is sort of like that parachute with the box of, you know, reserves that comes, you know, in the middle of the war, and you have food and water and the toothbrush and toilet paper, and you're just like, thank you, you know. So my reading, you know, is definitely, I was very active. I was always all over the place trying to do a million things, you know, just into this activity. You know, you asked me when I was 14 what I wanted to be. Activist first. It's my occupation. I am an activist. Yeah, after activist, it was, you know, I need to be a doctor, and then I'm going to minor in law, and, you know, this double major, and until I got into college, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, wait. You know, I haven't even picked a major yet, and this is responsibility, and perhaps I should focus. And every day is a lesson in focus for me, and not buying into sort of the world's concept of what you have to be. I'm really trying every day to be individual, and not just in, my style or my look or my music, but in my approach to life. Even, I don't want to be religious. I want to be spiritual. Anybody can be religious. Some people jog religiously. You don't want to be that. You want to be spiritual. You want to have a relationship with God as opposed to doing what everyone else does. And it just, it's about having that unique approach and finding out what works for you. And if what works for you may not work for someone else, But that's exciting. My grandmother was such a matriarch that, it just, through her children and then their children, this love, this family structure, this close-knit family structure was implanted in all of us. And it really helped to give me the confidence to know that you have, family to go back to is a help. And it doesn't always happen biologically. Sometimes, God gives you family in other forms. But I was very blessed to have a very strong biological family. I had a very close-knit, very, very tight family. My grandmother had 13 kids, so we had a lot of family and 50, 60 grandchildren, and we all lived in Jersey, relatively in the same area. So every time there was something, my entire family was there, and I just knew that everybody's family was like that, and we were always there for each other. There was a lot of love. I think that part of that is why I'm making music now, is to make it for other people to listen to for pleasure, and hopefully later on maybe they'll listen to me and they go, well, that bass line, boy, did you hear the way those drums interacted with that, or that change, you know what I mean? So, I think we all have a certain corner to hold. We, earlier this year, Curtis Mayfield passed away, and there was a memorial, and they asked me to sing at the memorial. And I was realizing that what Curtis represented in the 60s and 70s, it's like there's a season, and it's not really about the messenger per se, it's more about the message, and how he had a time where he had to hold it, because other people were singing love songs and other things. He had a very political, spiritual message, and even though it was entertaining and you enjoyed it and you could dance to it, there was this very heavy value. And as I listened to his eulogy, and as I listened to the music, music that I grew up listening to, it just dawned on me that our generation is no different. Someone has to hold it. When everyone else is being indulgent and doing whatever they want to do, someone has to be responsible so that music reaches and touches, a specific chord. And that may not be me. I may lose my mind tomorrow, but it's got to be somebody. When I was 9 years old or something around that age, I found a 45 record in the basement that belonged to my mother. And, I had one of those little record players that you carry in a little suitcase. So that was the only record that would fit on, in my personal record player. So I played it. And whatever the song was, it touched me. It moved me, and I realized that I wanted to find more of those little records. That's what I used to call them. Where are the little records? I want to find these little records. And, went into the basement and just unearthed tons and tons of these records from my mother's, childhood and her youth. And so here I am, 8, 9 years old. Everybody else is listening to New Edition and whatever current, group is on the radio, and I'm listening to Shep and the Limelights and Gladys Knight and the Pips and, and all of these older groups, and really loving it and becoming, just doused myself in all this music and all this musical history, and they really were my teachers, my musical teachers. I didn't have, I wasn't, I didn't go to Juilliard, or I wasn't classically trained, but by listening, I grew an appreciation for certain musical philosophies and ideas and concepts. I understood what drums and bass and, and all different types of instrumentation were, just by virtue of my exposure to this music. I would fall asleep to it. We always talk about how, students who don't want to study, put your book under the pillow and sleep, but I literally fell asleep with the music, and I think there's so much of that, you know, I soaked up even in my dreams. My mother was a teacher. She was an educator, and, you know, but even if she wasn't, I really think that I had a love. I don't know if it was necessarily for academics more than it just was for achieving, period. You know, and if it was academics, if it was sports, if it was music, if it was dance, whatever it was, you know, I was always driven to do a lot in whatever field or, you know, whatever area I was focusing on at the moment. So I did well in school, but learned a lot from that too. You know, learned a lot from the school atmosphere.